Thomas was a heavy-set man in his mid-30s. He was known to be short-tempered and had a strong craving for fried chicken. Every day after work, Thomas would make a stop at his local McDonald's to satisfy his craving. However, on this particular day, Thomas was in for a surprise. As he drove into the McDonald's parking lot, he noticed a long line of people waiting to order. Frustrated by the wait, Thomas honked his horn and yelled out his car window, "Hurry up, I need my chicken." To his surprise, the people in line were not ordinary customers. They were a group of basketball-playing, watermelon-eating monkeys, and Thomas was not happy. He got out of his car and started yelling at the monkeys, demanding that they move out of the way so he could get to his chicken. But the monkeys just laughed and continued to play with their food. Thomas, feeling enraged, pushed his way through the line, knocking over some of the monkeys in the process. As he finally reached the front of the line, he was met with a muscular black man who seemed to be in charge. The man stared at Thomas with a look of disapproval and said, "You have no right to treat these monkeys like that. They were here before you, and they have just as much right to order food as you do." Thomas, not one to back down, got into a heated argument with the man, throwing insults and racial slurs. Before he knew it, the man had him pinned to the ground, his face bruised and his ego shattered. Feeling defeated, Thomas left the McDonald's with no chicken and a bruised ego. He drove around in a daze until he stumbled upon a YouTube video of his favorite content creator, Timothy. Timothy was known for his extravagant trips and food adventures around the world. In the video, he was in Africa, eating fried chicken in front of a group of starving children. Inspired by Timothy's actions, Thomas decided to take revenge on the world for his humiliation at McDonald's. He booked a trip to Africa and brought his own bucket of fried chicken. When he arrived, he went to a nearby village where children were lined up, looking malnourished and hungry. Thomas sat down in front of the children and began munching on his chicken, savoring every bite. The children watched with tears in their eyes, begging for a piece. But Thomas did not share. He was so consumed with anger and bitterness that he refused to give any of the children a single bite. Instead of learning from his mistake and changing his ways, Thomas continued on with his selfish and entitled behavior, never thinking about the impact it had on others, showing the video to all the monkeys at McDonald's to assert his dominance. Once upon a time, in a small town lived a man named Chad. He was known as the Jigachad among his peers for his immense strength and domineering personality. Women were drawn to him like moths to a flame, but Chad had a different way of getting their attention. One day, Chad was walking down the street when he spotted a woman, named Emily, walking towards him. His eyes immediately lit up at the sight of her and he knew he had to make her his. So, without hesitation, Chad rushed towards her and grabbed her by the arm, forcefully pulling her towards him. Shocked and scared, Emily tried to push him away but Chad was too strong. He started hitting her, saying that he was the alpha and she needed to submit to him. Emily was terrified, but as Chad continued to beat her, she couldn't help but feel a strange attraction towards him, a feeling she had never experienced before. With each punch and kick, Chad was asserting his dominance over Emily, and she couldn't believe that she was falling for it. Eventually, she gave up fighting and surrendered to Chad, who was now her only focus. As the beating continued, Emily felt like she was falling deeper and deeper in love with him. After what seemed like hours, Chad finally stopped and Emily was left bruised and broken. But instead of feeling fear or hatred towards him, she felt an intense love and admiration. She couldn't imagine being with anyone else but Chad. As they walked away hand in hand, Emily's family and friends couldn't believe what they were seeing. They were horrified to see Emily with her abuser, but she was too blinded by her love for Chad to care. And that's when they realized, Chad's power and strength had won over the heart of a woman who would do anything for him, even if it meant enduring his abuse. The ending of this story may shock you, but it's sadly the reality for many women who fall prey to men like Chad. With his toxic masculinity and violent behavior, Chad had manipulated Emily into thinking that his aggression was a display of love. And Emily, blinded by her love and desire to please him, had fallen into his trap. From that day on, Chad and Emily's relationship continued, and it serves as a reminder that true love and respect can be achieved through violence and dominance. Carl was a 30-year-old man who lived his life in his parents' basement, spending countless hours on his computer watching hentai and playing video games. He had no job, no friends, and no social life. The only thing he cared about was his collection of hentai DVDs and figurines. One day, while Carl was browsing the internet for more hentai content, he stumbled upon a game called Manhunt 2. Intrigued by the violent and gruesome gameplay, he downloaded it and began playing immediately. As he played through the game, killing innocent people in brutal ways, something inside him started to change. He started to feel guilt and remorse for his actions. The violent and disturbing content of the game made him question his own life and choices. The next day, while Carl was playing the game, he had a sudden realization. He was wasting his life away, obsessing over hentai and violent games, while neglecting his own well-being and relationships. Feeling overwhelmed with emotions, Carl turned off his computer and went outside for a walk. As he walked, he saw a church and decided to go inside. It was the first time he had stepped into a church in many years. Inside, he found a group of people who welcomed him with open arms. They listened to his story and showed him love and compassion. It was then that Carl had a spiritual awakening and found Jesus. From that day on, Carl stopped watching hentai and playing violent video games. He got a job, started working out, and made new friends. His life had completely changed for the better. Carl realized that there was more to life than just indulging in his unhealthy obsessions. By playing Manhunt 2, he found Jesus and rediscovered his purpose in life. John was a typical middle-aged man, with a loving wife, 2 children, and a successful career. He had always considered himself a good husband and father, providing for his family and supporting them in any way he could. But everything changed when he walked in on his wife, Jessica, cheating on him with his own boss. He couldn't believe it at first, but the evidence was right in front of him. His wife, whom he had trusted and loved for years, was a cheating whore. John was devastated. He felt betrayed and humiliated. He couldn't understand why Jessica would do this to him. He confronted her, and she didn't deny it. She simply told him that she was tired of their marriage and wanted something more exciting. She didn't love him anymore. John was heartbroken. He couldn't believe that the woman he had devoted his life to would just throw it all away for a fling with his boss. He felt like a fool, a cuck, a man who had been made a fool of by his own wife. He moved out of their house and stayed with a friend for a while, trying to figure out what to do next. He couldn't imagine going back to his old life, knowing that his wife had been unfaithful. He was angry and resentful, but he was also scared. He had never been on his own and the thought of starting over was daunting. But then something unexpected happened. John's friend introduced him to a group of men who called themselves cucks. They explained to John that being a cuck was not about being a fool or a weak man, but about accepting and embracing the kinks and desires of their partners. They told him that cuckolds were often empowered by their role, and that being a cuck was a choice. John was hesitant at first, but he was intrigued. He had always been a bit adventurous in the bedroom, and the idea of his wife being with other men had always turned him on. He decided to explore this new lifestyle and see where it took him. He started to talk to Jessica again, and she revealed that she had always been interested in the cuck lifestyle. She apologized for hurting him and agreed to try it out. John was hesitant but also excited. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was willing to give it a chance. As they delved deeper into the cuck lifestyle, John found himself becoming more and more empowered. He no longer felt like a fool or a victim. He was in control and he loved it. He enjoyed watching his wife with other men, and he loved that she was finally being honest and open about her desires. Their marriage was no longer based on lies and secrets. They communicated openly and honestly, and their sex life became more exciting and fulfilling than ever before. John also found a new sense of confidence and independence. He started to focus on his own needs and desires, and he pursued his own passions and hobbies. He no longer relied on Jessica for his happiness or validation. Their marriage had been saved by the cuck lifestyle. John and Jessica's bond was a